If you listen to Elon Musk, you'd think that the world is ending. Robots are going to take over the blue-collar jobs. AI is going to displace the white-collar jobs. And we're all just going to be sitting at home, eating popcorn, collecting universal basic income. Everyone's terrified. Everyone's anxious. But I think everyone is distracted. And while everyone is distracted, the single greatest wealth transfer in history is happening right now, right under our noses. And it's bananas that almost nobody is talking about it. It's crazy. And no, I'm not talking about Wall Street. I'm not talking about crypto. I'm not talking about the geopolitical stuff that's going on in the world. I'm talking about $10 trillion of wealth transfer that's happening right now. And it's happening in the most boring, underrated industries in the world. I went from being a broke immigrant kid doing snow removal in high school to now I run a portfolio of $100 million worth of boring businesses in the obscure corners of the economy. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what this $10 trillion wealth transfer is, why the AI revolution is literally your single greatest unfair advantage, and I'm going to give you the exact step-by-step playbook for you to follow to get a small piece of it. Let's go. Here's the reality of the American economy right now. 10,000 boomers retire every single day. And these boomers, what do they own? They own the backbone of the American economy. They own plumbing companies. They own HVAC shops. They own water damage restoration companies. They own restaurants. All of that is what they own. And these are like real world businesses that have been printing cash for the past 30 to 100 years. Real world businesses that they've used the cash to put their kids through school, to grow their families, to buy real estate and all that awesome stuff. But here's the true massive problem, which becomes a massive opportunity for those like us that know what to do with it. They have no succession plan because their kids don't want to take over the plumbing businesses. They don't want to take over the HVAC businesses because for the past couple of decades, what have our youth been indoctrinated with? Go to school to become a lawyer or a trader or a doctor. Right? We've literally been sending all of our kids to school, and all of our kids, like my generation, wants to be, financial advisors or all these white collar professions, and there's nobody that wants to take over these businesses. And on the flip side, all these boomers had these old school antiquated mentalities, so they didn't really build these assets into the sexiest assets. They print cash, but they're boring and they're not the most sophisticated when it comes to trading a company or selling a company or anything like that. So you have millions of not so sexy, but profitable, boring businesses that literally don't have a person to pass the torch on to. Estimates show that over $10 trillion of this wealth will have to exchange hands over the next 10 years. 10 trillion. But wait, what about the robots? What about the AI? And this is what I call the Musk Paradox. Yes, AI is going to replace the copywriters. Yes, AI is going to come in here and get rid of all these things that are no longer necessary in American economy. But here's the deal. A robot cannot wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, drive to your house, fix your broken pipe, take care of everything, and bill your insurance company. They can do parts of it, but more than likely you're going to have a human plus a robot taking care of that. Real world manual labor services are going to be the absolute last thing to be automated. And I believe that they won't be able to be completely automated, meaning there's never going to be a need for a human to be involved in that customer interaction. They're completely insulated from the AI apocalypse. But check this out, and this is a secret. These real world businesses are the first where AI could be applied as an unfair competitive advantage. And this brings us to the play. And the play is simple. You build what I call a tech-enabled boring business. Ask yourself this question. What if you took a traditional plumbing company and mated it with a software company and made them have a baby? Most people look at boring businesses like a plumbing company and they think that the way to run it is the way it was run back in 1995. Whiteboards, pen and paper invoices, blue-collar rough technicians that don't know what they're doing, blue-collar rough technicians that don't want to take their gloves off to use the phone to create the invoice, whiteboards upon whiteboards for scheduling, and like 50 people in the office answering phone calls to take care of pissed off customers. When you run a business like that, it's kind of chaos, and that's what these boomers have built. It prints off cash, but it's not very scalable. The boomer still needs to be involved, and they'll trade at, modest multiples. Let's call it 3 to 4 times profit. So if it makes $1 million a year of profit for the boomer, you could probably take it off the boomer's hands for about $3 to $4 million. But what if you were to inject AI into it? What if you were to inject the same components that makes a software company trade at 10 to 15x? What if you started using AI for dispatching, started using AI for collections? What if there was some sort of robotics that could be applied? So now you got a technician plus a robot doing some of the hard work, and now you're able to do way more revenue with that specific employee. Your business becomes a lot more sustainable, a lot more repeatable, a lot more future-proof, and it becomes a lot more valuable. Suddenly, you are not just a plumbing company anymore. You're a tech-enabled plumbing company. Your margins go up, your overhead drops, and you're able to trade at a much higher multiple. And this is the massive opportunity I see in these boring businesses, is building these tech-enabled businesses. Buying or building businesses that are traditionally worth 3 to 4x, then tech-enabling them and making them that much more repeatable, that much more scalable in the age of AI. And then eventually they're worth 10, 15, 20x, or maybe you don't want to sell them ever at all because they're just such great cash flowing machines. So how do you actually do this? Well, let's start with the person in the category of I've never built a business before. And we'll get to the experienced seasoned vet in a little bit. But if you haven't ever built a business before, you've probably spent time on Twitter and on YouTube and seen all these gurus out there that are telling you to go use an SBA loan and go buy a business. Buy a laundromat tomorrow with 0% down. Make the owner finance it for you. I'm going to give you a massive warning right now. Do not ever buy a business if you've never built a business before. You are literally setting yourself up for failure. If you're 22 years old, never built a business before, have no money, never managed payroll, never sold a job to a stranger ever in your life, and you go take off that $1 million loan from the boomer and buy that boomer's business, you are going to get crushed. I don't want to be negative Nancy here. The employees will quit, customers will leave, and you will go bankrupt, and you'll be left with this $1 million loan that you personally guaranteed. You really have to build the muscle and become the entrepreneur first. And you do that by building, even though it sounds less sexy. And I did a whole video on how you can do this in 30 days, but you can watch it in the link below. But here's a short version of this. You, 1, pick a boring industry, aka plumbing. 2, go online, secret shop, pick a competitor and go figure out how people price for that specific industry. 3, go ask AI how to actually do the work with those specific tools. 4, go find 5 strangers and go sell them that product or service before you even start an LLC, before you even get insurance, and just go offer that to them. And then 5, take the money that you've made from there to go start the LLC, to go open up the marketing campaigns, to go get the insurance and actually get in business. You don't need a whole lot to build that entrepreneurial muscle, and you want to start scrappy, as that is a part of your journey. You build the business from scratch. You learn how to sell. You learn how to fulfill. You learn how to deal with angry customers, and you learn how to manage cash flow. And that experience can happen in 6 to 12 months. I promise you it's the most valuable thing that you could possibly do. You have to earn your scars. You have to learn the game on a small scale before you play in the big leagues. Now, once you've built the business and it's doing $80, $90, $200,000 a month of revenue, and you're able to buy back your time a little bit so you're not so intensely involved in the day-to-day delivery of the business, the next step is to actually tech enable it. And this is where you separate yourself from the boomer who's done the business the same way for the past 30 years. You deploy what I call digital gremlins that essentially do the work of certain people 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. At one of my restoration companies, we literally had a person who was paid $50,000 a year to call customers and follow up and ask them how the service was. We literally built an entire system in 2 days that automated the process and did exactly that job for a fraction of the cost. When you do this, you don't just save time and money, you buy back your time and you buy back the time of other employees. And now those employees can focus on more important tasks, such as making sure the customer is taken care of, such as making sure that strategically the business is growing. And as you start tech enabling the business, things become more reoccurring, things become more standardized and systematized as you're programming everything into the AI. And you go literally layer by layer, task by task, and you find your way to build these digital gremlins, these AI bots that are handling a lot of your work. Now, that second group of people, the seasoned entrepreneurs, this part's for you, right? I promised you guys that I would tell you a little bit more about what you should do. You've built a business. You know how to operate it. You've got some capital. What do you do next? Now, I believe, you're ready to acquire. Now, you're ready to step into that wealth transfer. And the way you do it is you've built this tech-enabled company. You go and you look for other boomers that have these traditional businesses, and then you acquire these boomers for like 3 to 4x EBITDA. And you know your business is probably worth 12 to 15x EBITDA because it is a tech-enabled empire. And you centralize all the core functions, all the stuff that is the key risk, such as the dispatching, such as the billing, such as the collecting. You go acquire all of these different companies, you roll them up into one, and now you've built a massive tech-enabled empire within your space. Now, where do you find these retiring boomers? Some of them might be hanging out on sites like BizBuySell and such, but the best place to actually find them is to go to industry mastermind groups, to networking events, to conferences and trade shows. And the best way is to actually ask through them. Ask them, hey, I've got this vision. I want to build a tech-enabled empire. and I'm looking for somebody to join my tech-enabled empire. Here's all the crazy stuff that I've done. And you typically earn the right to talk to them, and they're actually more likely to talk to you as an operator building something than they are talking to the private equity peeps that are calling them every single day. It gives you a massive unfair advantage. And your pitch is actually quite simple. I want to take care of your legacy, Mr. Boomer. I want to take care of your employees, and I want to modernize your business. And a lot of times you could buy a majority stake in the business, let them roll some of the cash forward, and you're actually making them even richer out of their second bite of the apple. And you still have the face and the boomer is able to do the things that he or she enjoys the most. And again, because you've already built the tech-enabled business, you could buy that business for 3 to 4x, and overnight, as it merges with your business, it could be worth 15x once the AI bots are deployed and so on and so forth. So you've literally bought something for 3 to 4x and then quadrupled its value within a month. Now, as far as financing, you could use SBA loans and debt to go acquire these businesses. That's one way to do it. You could also do some sort of seller financing where you allow the boomer to actually finance their business. It's essentially, hey, your business does 500,000 of EBITDA. My going rate for you is I think your business is worth $2 million. I'll do a $1 million SBA loan. You'll roll another $1 million into my company, and that's kind of how we're going to structure the deal. Look, here's the deal. This window is not going to stay open forever. Over the next 10 years, this $1 trillion wealth transfer is going to happen. And these businesses will exchange hands, whether you like it or not, whether you get yourself into the flow or not. And the people who capture this wealth are not the people that are sitting at home worrying if robots are going to take their jobs. The people who capture this wealth are going to be the people that find boring businesses, go and operate them, and use AI as an absolute weapon to modernize that entire industry. Build first, tech-enabled second, and then go acquire third. If you flip-flop this and you're inexperienced, you will flop. So follow those 3 steps. And if you're that first category of person who's never started a business before and you want to know the step-by-step guide on how to start the business, click the link below and I'll see you on the other side. And if you're more experienced and a seasoned operator and you want to learn more about what we're doing and how we're doing it, just DM me on socials. I'll give you the entire playbook. I'm of abundance mindset. I give everybody everything. Stop planning, start executing, and go freaking crush it. The world needs builders like you.